Hey everyone, and welcome to the channel. So today we're going to take a look at the all-new Rivian R1S Launch Edition. Huge shout out to Carolina Auto Direct for providing this vehicle for me today. Check out their website, that link is down in the description. So this Launch Edition behind me is finished off in Cap Granite, which is the Launch Edition color, so it is specific to this model here. And we'll go over the MSRP once we get this out on the road and go over all the specs and features. So let's start off with what powers this fully electric SUV. This has a 128.9 kilowatt lithium ion battery pack. There are two motors up front and two motors in the rear, so one for each wheel, paired to a single speed transmission, pumping out 835 horsepower, 908 pound-feet of torque, sent through that all-wheel drive system. This weighs in right around 7,000 pounds. It'll do 0 to 60 in 3 seconds, 0 to 100 in 8 seconds with a top speed of 111 miles an hour. It also has a total range of 316 miles and a wheelbase of 121.1 inches. Its overall length is 200.8. It has a width of 79.3, a height of 77.3, and its maximum ground clearance is 15 inches. As we move on to the exterior styling now for this Rivian, the first thing that you will notice is the massive LED connector bar running from headlight housing to headlight housing. It is very distinctive for this model, where of course everything is LED for the headlights as well as the turn signals too, and that entire bar will light up too. This also has LED fog lights, which are mounted just below, and then plenty of cutouts in the lower section along with a forward-facing camera. There's also parking sensors, even functional cutouts on each corner to provide even more aerodynamics. There are two tow hooks up front along with some brush trim right in the middle. And then since this is a fully electric vehicle, you actually have some usable storage space up front. So I can just double tap this button on the key fob. I haven't found any exterior button to use. So far, I just have to use the key fob to open this up. Where you can see, you have a little bit of storage. So you could place some items, groceries, anything like that, which is nice to have for this kind of vehicle. And then I can just double tap that button again and it will automatically close. So it's very nice to see that amount of usable storage space up front, where there's also some nice lines that come down the hood, and then the Rivian badge is front and center. Now as we move on to the side, this has a massive set of 22-inch wheels with a two-tone design multi-spoke pattern. You can see the yellow brake calipers just behind that, where this also has the regenerative braking, of course, being fully electric. Now there's also some camera systems on the side of this vehicle. There's one on the back of the fender flare here, where there's also another cutout so airflow can travel around that tire and exit that side. There's also two cameras on the side mirrors. There's one in the front, one on the back. These are power folding with that integrated turn signal, and as you can tell, they have that two-tone design. The Rivian badge also has the yellow outline to match the brake calipers, which is nice to see. And then the entire upper section is gloss black. So the A-pillars to the roof, where this does have a full panoramic sunroof. And it has a pretty interesting design to it for an SUV. Kind of has a Jeep Wagoneer look to it for the back end there. So very distinctive. There's another Rivian badge. And then currently this is in the highest off-road setting. So this provides this with 15 inches of ground clearance. I'll play a clip here where you can see it going from the lowest setting all the way to this highest setting. So if you plan on taking your Rivian off-road, you actually have a lot of ground clearance and you have a pretty good departure angle with the curve of this rear bumper. Now as we work our way to the rear, you will see the entire upper section is gloss black, where this has the third brake light up top, wiper blade right in the middle there, and then the entire LED connector bar runs right through that power liftgate. Now interestingly enough, the turn signal is very, very tiny for the amount of LED lights for that bar. So it's very tiny, tucked away in the corner. This does have a backup camera, all the parking sensors, and then a similar design as the front with that brush trim and then gloss black just underneath that. And this can even tow right around 7,700 pounds. So pretty capable for an electric vehicle. But let's work our way to the cargo space now. So on the key fob, we have lock and unlock. We have the button to open up the front storage space, as you just saw, and then you do have to have the vehicle unlocked in order to do this. So I can double tap that button or the one that is just next to the backup camera. Now this also has a split design to it, like the BMW X5. So from here, I can just push on this button, and you do have to pull this down the rest of the way. where you can see with the third row up, we have all the charging cables currently in the back. You have a good amount of space for this being a 3-row vehicle, so you can definitely fit in some items as needed. Now over on this side, you can see the PSI for the air compressor. So since this can raise and lower, you could hook up external hoses if you needed to use the air compressor for some other functions, which is really nice to see. Now if I push on these buttons here, you will see that second row seat go all the way down. From here, I can also fold down that third row. So you can see the amount of storage that you would have if you had everything down, and then of course with them up, you have a lot of usable space. Now you can't bring these seats back up, so they are manual, so I will have to pull those back up. But it is nice to see that amount of space. Now one thing that is interesting, unlike the X5, you do have to close the bottom before you can close the top. On the X5, you can push on that button and it will do both of them. I'm not sure if you were able to hear that, but it did beep, letting me know that I have to close that first. And then I can push on this button up top and it will close from there. So it's interesting that it doesn't do both at the same time, but nonetheless, you have that accessibility. Now, as we work our way to the back, you will notice that the door handles pop out. I can't actually push them in to lock the vehicle. So you do have to push on lock, of course, for them to fold in. Side mirrors will fold in as well. And then from there, you can push on unlock. So we can grab that and then take a look at the door panel, which has a really nice design to it with all the leather. There's wood trim as well. This has the Meridian elevation sound system. There's even storage space in the lower section of the door, and you can pull this open to get a little bit better access. So it's really nice to have that. And then we have some brush trim running right through the middle, leading our way to the full leather seats with Rivian right in the middle. And these are heated seats too. They have a really nice design to them. But we'll come back to the second row because let's move on to the third row. So if I push on this button here, the seat will move forwards. You can push it the rest of the way. And at 5'10", it's not all that hard to get into these back two seats. So you can see with this seat currently set up, you still have a good amount of leg room. You'll notice there's a cup holder, some armrests. And then as far as headroom goes, I have around 2 or 3 inches above my head, where your third row passengers even get their own moonroof. So there's no sunshade back here. This is going to be open all the time. Hopefully you can see the full Alcantara headliner as well. So it's functional for 2 people to be back here. I could ride around town and still be comfortable if I needed to jump into the third row. Now, as far as visibility goes, it's very open. Massive window right there. So there's pretty much no blind spots for this vehicle. Now, as we work our way out, we can come back to the second row, slide the seat all the way back right there. I can move it farther back from there. So I can hop up into this, grab that slider bar down below, and now we are back to a normal position. I can also recline this seat too, which is nice. Now, right in the middle, there are 2 storage pockets where you can place some additional items. Right in the middle, there are air vents. We even have all the controls for the heated seats, along with the temperature, where you'd like the air to go. There's some auxiliaries down below too. And at 5'10" again, plenty of room for this second row. We have the massive sunroof here, which actually doesn't have a sunshade either. So it is a little bit tinted to protect you from that sun, of course. And then right in the middle, we have the armrest with 2 cup holders. There's no storage space on the back side there, but you can also fold down this middle seat. So there is a lever on the back to release that, where if you have the third row folded down, you have some longer items, you can still slide them through or have a little bit higher of an armrest for your second row passengers. And you'll also notice too that behind the headrests, you have an area where you can attach a tablet and charge it as well, with some more of that trim surrounding both of them, which is nice to see. Now, as we work our way to the front door panels now, you'll notice they are just like the rears. However, there's all the window adjustments, the release handle, a lot more storage space located down below. And then that is pretty much it. The rest of the controls are located in that infotainment system. So it gives you a very clean look with more of that wood trim. Rivian is also down on the door sill there. And then we have the same design, of course, for these seats, which is really nice to see. Now, jumping into the front seats, it's not really all that hard, even with this at the highest off-road setting. And from here, we can move on to the steering wheel, which is completely covered in solid leather. There's more of the wood trim on both sides with the badge right in the middle, of course, and some more brush trim surrounding all of these. Now, in order to start this up basically and put it into gear to get it going, all you need to do is press the brake to start. So simply put my foot on the brake, you will see that it is ready to go. From here, we can put it into drive or reverse, which is using this stalk here. If I push it up, that is for reverse, where we can go ahead and talk about this 360 camera system. So currently you can see the top-down view along with that backup camera. If I push on this icon here, you can see that in a little bit different of a view. And then we also have the front view, so you can see that forward-facing camera. So that is pretty much it for the camera system. You have the split design on that side as well, and then you can exit out of that, put this vehicle into drive, and then park is going to be on the end of the stalk. Now, this is also how you can adjust the cruise control and the distance pacing. So you have that located within that stalk as well. And then over on this left side, we have the turn signal, of course, which also has the headlights. So just by flipping on this button here, you will see you can go through all of those different settings, even with the fog lights too. And then you have the wiper blade controls, which is nice to see. Now, for the gauge cluster itself, you will see ready on that right side along with your distance, and that is pretty much it. You can also look at the volume just by using this control here, so you'll see that on that left side. But the gauge cluster is pretty much simple for that information there. Now, on this left side, you will notice more of that wood trim. There's one air vent, even more of that brush trim, leather covering the entire dash, and then you have pretty much all of your controls right in the middle for this infotainment system. So currently we are in the off-road pages here, where you have a lot to go through. I am currently in off-road because that will give you that 15 inches of ground clearance. You can adjust it from there by using these controls to go to high or to go to standard, like you saw earlier in this video. Now, for off-road, you have rock crawl, rally, drift, even a soft sand. You can even adjust the ride height, so you have, or the ride, how the ride will be. So you have soft and stiff. You also have the regenerative braking, which you can control, and your stability, which you can turn on and off. Now, on this left side, we have a few more driving modes, like all-purpose, sport. There's conserve, snow, even a towing mode too. And then to get back to some of this other information, we have navigation, so you can pull that up in full screen. You can go into your music and go through all this info. We have the page that I just went over. If I push on the Rivian logo there, you will notice right now you can open the hood, you can open your charge port, you can adjust your wheel and your mirrors too. So this is actually pretty interesting because as I click on that, now you are using the controls on the steering wheel to move the mirrors. So you have left and right and then up and down by using that rotary dial. Pretty interesting to see that. You can also adjust the steering wheel by using those controls too. You'll notice you can fold the mirrors, you have the window lock, you have some more information over on that right side. And then if I go into camping here, you have some lights you can turn on, floodlights as well. You have your energy use along with the outlets. So you can take this camping, use it to power some equipment if you need to. You will notice we have another shortcut here to the cameras. You can get into your energy, so you can monitor all this consumption as well, which is nice to see, your charging schedule. We can go back to the gear guard, which I'm not exactly sure what this is, but we have some videos that you can set up as needed. You have your camping app that I just showed, and then some settings that you can go into just to configure this as needed. So it is pretty awesome to see everything right in the middle here. You can even go through some shortcuts there to get to that info. And then we even have all the climate adjustments down below too. So you can quickly push on those, get to the heated steering wheel, heated and ventilated seats, and then you have your climates for your front and your rear passengers that you can easily go through, turning these on and off, going through the fan speed and everything like that. So it's not all that hard to get used to, being that everything is on the screen. There are no physical buttons, but of course, once you sit in this, get some seat time, you can quickly go through all of that info. Now underneath that, there are two air vents. You will see a Rivian with a ton of storage space. You could place some items here as needed. You even have this Bluetooth, wireless Bluetooth speaker that you can pull out. So if you are camping, you don't even have to worry about buying a speaker. That goes just underneath, which is pretty cool to see. Now, right in the middle, you have a little bit more storage where you could place a phone or some other items. And then you actually have cup holders that will pop out too. So you have those easily accessible. And then for this armrest, there are electronic buttons that I just need to push in order for it to release. And you'll see there's a good amount of storage along with the auxiliaries down below, so that way you can charge electronics as needed. Now, from what I've been able to see, there's no glove box over on the passenger side. So you pretty much have some more storage space down below where you can place items as needed. And then, like I mentioned earlier, the full moonroof goes all the way to the third row there. It is split right in the middle, but nonetheless, you have the full moonroof with that Alcantara again. And there's some call buttons right in the middle. So as we set off now behind the wheel for this Rivian, this has a starting MSRP right around $80,000. Now that's a lot of money for an electric vehicle. However, electric vehicles in general do have a higher price tag simply because of the technology that they have, and they're not quite as popular yet. They're gaining popularity, but I think that there's still that added premium if you want to go with an electric vehicle. And this is also one of only two, I believe, maybe three, fully electric vehicles that has 3 rows. The only other competitor that I can think of for this would be the Tesla Model X Plaid. That is a 3-row vehicle, 2 in that 3rd row as well. I've been in that vehicle before. If you want to see that test drive, check out that separate video. That was a lot more expensive, and that 3rd row really wasn't all that usable, and it was harder to put those back seats down. They weren't manual, I think, like in this Rivian. So that's the only other 3-row fully electric vehicle I can think of, and you decide which one you like better. I have a full review on that car, but for this Rivian, this is the 2nd Rivian that I've been in. I was in the pickup truck version, and this is virtually identical, minus we have the full cab area. There's no pickup for this. So I have a little bit of seat time with Rivian, and it's a pretty cool vehicle for 80 grand. Personally, I would not go with it. I'm not a huge fan of electric vehicles, but that is for a separate topic. But you can't argue with how quickly this vehicle can get up to speed. So we'll do an acceleration here. Well, a little underwhelming. I need to put it into sport mode. I think we can get a little bit more response. It's still not quickish. You know, I'm not going pedal to the floor in this, but with the stats that I read earlier, that is quick for the weight of this. And I mean, it's still fast. It doesn't have a high top speed, but electric vehicles are quick off the line. They have all of that torque instantly, so over 900 pound-feet of torque. It is a fast vehicle, no doubt about it. But aside from that, it is pretty simple, and by simple I mean we have all the tech in the screen, so you don't have a row of buttons here, a row of buttons there. You just do everything in the screen. So if you're more of a tech person and you like using screens, this is going to be good for you. Personally, I do like having some physical buttons. Even the ones on the steering wheel here, you have to go into the screen in order then to use these buttons. So that's a 2-step process where these should be functional as is, aside from just being able to use your audio there. But I like it. I think it is a nice, clean design to it, and it rides very nice. We are currently in the stiff setting, and we have the regenerative braking, so I didn't really have to put my foot on the brake pedal until we came to a stop. And you can adjust that as needed, of course. I mean, it gets up and moves. It's weird feeling because you don't hear anything. No exhaust, obviously, no engine noise. But it is a nice vehicle to drive. Putting a few miles on it so far. It's comfortable, it's quiet. We can put it into the soft setting just to get a little bit more relaxed and comfortable. We have the braking, which I can put on high now. So then if I let off, we are going to slow down much quicker, of course. And then with another acceleration, you can just see the speedometer climb and climb. It doesn't feel quick because it is a heavy vehicle, but it can get up and move. So for $80,000, you are getting a lot of performance for this vehicle. You're also getting a extremely practical vehicle too, as far as being a 3-row SUV. It can tow. Now, as far as towing with an electric vehicle, you're going to be losing significant battery life depending on what you are towing. So the towing technology for electric vehicles is not really there yet. You might be able to tow around the city. Long distances, that is going to be a completely separate story. Now, I'm not trying to bash electric vehicles in any way. You have your own opinion with gasoline versus the electric vehicles. To me, I'm not a huge fan because of the range. This has 316 miles, which is a good bit for an electric vehicle. However, if you're going out of town, you have to plan your trip accordingly. So if you plan it right, you know, it can make it easier and less inconvenient than running out and having no electric station to get to in order to charge this. So if you're buying an electric vehicle, you have to take that into consideration, just like if you're buying a combustion engine vehicle, of course, taking into consideration, you know, other variables. So for this, I think it's nice. It drives very nice. I love the unique exterior design. If you want something that is unlike any other vehicle on the road, this is a pretty cool option to go with. And I do like how the interior is very plain and simple, but it has very nice materials too. So it's not cheap, it just has that simple design to it. And then as far as trying to make a quick U-turn here, we have the camera system, which of course is nice to see. And then with the visibility, very, very easy to see. So let's do one last acceleration. And that is going to wrap it up for this Rivian R1S Launch Edition. Once again, a huge shout out to Carolina Auto Direct for providing this vehicle for me today. Check out their website, that link is down below. Give the video a huge thumbs up if you enjoy it. Smash that subscribe button so you don't miss out on our daily uploads. And I will see you all in the next video.